In this recording, I'm going to share my opinions about what I believe about Jesus' miracles and why I believe they were possible. Even it was weird for people at his time and for our times when we have modern scientific tools and systems and devices to measure and explain the physical world. If you are a scientist and atheist, you think this is a pile of crap that is not possible, and you will always find explanation that serve your belief. That's a normal human ways of thinking. If you are a scientist and a believer, one of those Christian scientists, you still have a doubt, because what you learn in school, university, master degrees, and all this training that you've got for years, and all your studies point to the material world and the experiments that never been able to recreate what Jesus did or what it's written in the Bible. And you think, yeah, okay, I believe in Jesus, he is my savior, he is my king, he is my hero, but I don't know how to explain how he changed the water into wine. And you are very tempted to go to the hypnosis theory, thinking that maybe Jesus was so good at hypnotizing people, made everyone believe that they drink wine while they were drinking water, right? That's a kind of a logical and easy explanation based on what we know about hypnosis. People go into sort of a state of mind when they do stuff they don't realize. So the mind is being fooled by the hypnotist. So you think that's the case with Jesus? He was so good at hypnotizing hundreds and hundreds of people, probably 5,000 people, according to these written writings. I don't know the numbers. I don't know Bible. I just know a couple of basic stories, and I saw some movies, and they all say same thing. They describe these events in the same way. So probably they got the information from the Bible. But I'll describe my experiments. Okay, of course, I have to state that I never been able to change the water into wine, right? And if people tell you that they've done it, probably they use some sort of a magic trick or use some chemical to fool people. And why I believe. Now I'll share what I kind of know and my experiments. I bought some sort of a special material made by a guy in Romania. And he's not the only guy who makes similar stuff, but his stuff has some properties. It changes the wine taste. So I did this experiment. Probably I recorded some few videos about it. I bought samples of wine bottles, different brands, different years and locations, like wine from Australia, from Canada. So I bought 3 bottles of each type. So I had three stacks of this type of wine bottles, and one was my reference, like untreated wine. Then the other one, like another pile of bottles, actually it was like a large bag of bottles of different type. I put a sort of a crystal type of material It's not a powder. It's more of a like a rice. I put it in a bag into the wine bag. Left it for over 2 weeks. And then the third bag, it was a sort of a disc, like a roundish shape device made by the same guy using the same type of material. And before that, I've used the same stuff with plants, and I went to a psychic who has a device, like a hardware device that is being made in Germany and has a hand sensor. So you put your hand on some sort of a palm sensor and measure 49 points of your palm, like some currents, and sends the data to a computer software. So that device is called pulsar or something, made in Germany. And I've done a number of experiments. Every experiment cost me money, but in the name of science, and in the name of learning what's going on here with these energies, I was willing to pay. And the experiments with plants gave me some interesting results. Plants that had this kind of a rice-shaped material, like a crystal type of material, like kind of a mix of different gems or rocks or something. I read my body energy using my palm on that hardware device, and I learned that plants that been treated or been near this type of material have different type of vibe. And when I held the plants onto my lap while measuring with this device, I got different results compared to the exact same plant batch I bought from Home Depot, exact identical or almost identical plants from the same batch. They were growing next to each other. So I had 4 plants, identical ones, one in one room, one in another room, one in the other room, one in the living room, so apart from each other and marked with a kind of a secret type of, like a hidden mark that indicates what was used to treat this plant or to have this plant near what I was using, a crystal or a magnet. So actually I used very strong magnets, trying to see if the plant changes its own energy. And the idea was that if plant has different energy, I would feel, or I not feel, like it would come into my my aura field, or biofield. It's called biofield. And this biofield being affected by the plant, which is different than the other plants, it will show onto this hardware device connected to the laptop. So I saw differences. So I thought, ooh, this crystal type of material is actually doing something to the plants and is doing something to the body. And actually I was carrying one of those things on my wallet to see if it makes a difference. And I went for another set of experiments. So I have a bunch of those experiments. I spent some money, so I didn't go out eating out restaurants and places, and I cut short my trips so I can save some money for my scientific experiments. And that was interesting. Now, talking about the wine. I took the wine in Kelowna. Kelowna is a town in Canada, in the Okanagan area, and I went to a very famous and fancy winery, and I gave the wine, the sample, the 3 type of samples, to a sommelier, and he told me that he's going to have a larger meeting with another like a professional sommeliers, like those wine tasting guys or a woman, um, and he will write a letter or a note, some sort of not a report but something. And it took some time until they got together, and they had to taste not only my wine but a bunch of wine for their business purpose. And they tasted my wine, not only this guy but a number of other guys, and they noticed that from one batch the wine had a kind of a more intense flavor. It was not like a huge difference. So they were impressed, and they said they were interested to do more testing and research on it. They were impressed, but there was not like a big, huge difference. And I gave some of this type of wine to someone, like a friend, let's say, and the woman tasted the wine, and the same idea. I had two identical bottles marked in the kind of with my own marks, and I knew which one had been placed next to this type of rice-shaped material. And after a couple of days, I was told that one of the bottles had like a richer, not flavor, kind of the taste was more complex and richer or something like that. So from my perspective, I can say I didn't taste the wine, or maybe I did different from different bottle, but to me it's wine. Okay, wine, red wine, white wine, it's wine. I don't care about it. So it tells me that this material being placed next to the wine changes the taste. And I was told, so I talked to a couple of people who are into healing and energy. I was told that yes, some healers have this ability to change the wine taste just by laying hands on the wine bottle. I said, ooh, that's really interesting, if it's true. And then I found a device. A device is being sold on Amazon as some sort of a wine bottle cap, pouring cap or something, that has some magnetic material on it. If you use it on the wine bottle and pour the wine through it, it's kind of a spout or something. It also changes the wine taste. So it's kind of a maybe removes some of the nastier taste, or maybe something that contain metal. I don't know. I have no explanation how that thing works, but there is something on Amazon if you are curious about this stuff. So what I'm saying that the field, the energy field, depends on what energy, maybe magnet, maybe gravitational field, but certain type of field, it affects the matter, affect the wine taste, the structure of the wine. Of course, the taste is being provided by the chemical content and the way the crystals in the chemistry are being arranged, and the molecules, the bond between molecules. So certain energies can break this bond or can reconnect certain type of energies and recombine substance that changes the taste of the wine. So we all know a certain field, it's affecting the matter. So classic example, magnetic field. You can kind of have a magnet connecting together certain type of pieces of metal or something like that. Now about the Jesus and the wine. So if Jesus had this powerful energy, not only to heal but to alter the molecular structure, I totally believe, I 100% believe that he had this ability to change the structure of the water into something that he had the intent for. So if he had intent to change the water into wine, the power of the mind with an intent, with a specific intent, so he could direct his energy into doing certain type of work. And it sounds like a woo-woo, it sounds like a big BS. But if we think of the structure, arrangement, like the way material are arranged, it's all energy. It's an organized energy into certain shapes that form atoms and molecules, and it has information. And I mentioned that into different video, how these atoms are being shaped and how come they are very stable. They don't just collapse, or they don't just come apart and make the matter that we know disappear, or maybe fly out of the universe, or the earth exploding or something. So everything is stable for a certain reason, because this energy is being programmed with certain electrostatic forces. The gravity between the particles of the atom are programmed with these forces that are very, very precise. It's a system made by an intelligence that designed this structure to be super stable, to be very stable. So like I mentioned in the past, you have mountains that are keeping their shape. They might move around because of the other gravitational forces of the earth, but otherwise the mountains are very same for thousands of years. So they don't explode, they don't expand, they don't shrink. They are all the same. Why? Because each particle in that is part of the mountain maintain its shape. Each atom maintain its shape. It's because these forces that keeps this atom together, the electrons flying around, the internuclei particles also are very precisely designed to keep their shape and arrangement inside. So I think someone is calling me on my cell, the other side. No. So because of this type of arrangement, we have this stable world we have around. Even the sand particles are very stable, but they move around away from each other because of the external forces. But internally, everything is stable. Now, this world was created with intent. This God that we don't know much about, but we kind of think, had this very precise intent to create these atoms, and the atoms or subatomic particles to be the building blocks for the next structures, one level up. And it has a thought that out of energy, so with the mind, out of energy, it would create material stuff. So we think this is a condensed form of energy, right? So I kept saying it. These atoms are condensed form of energy. It is in a way of thinking, but actually it's programmed type of energy. And it's programmed by a mind, or by a computer, by a system, by a very special machine or system, or a biological entity, but it probably is not biological, but it's something out of a field that had that power, the mind, to create stuff. And if it was done by some aliens with some sort of a spiritual powers, also is possible that those entities were able to reshape what they had on hand at the time, reshape the energy that they worked with, into something that we know, like animals, plants, mountains, just with their thoughts, or with, if he's a god, with his thought, reshaped this energy and thought of, I have this field and I modify this field to generate certain substance, and with the substance I make something with the mind. Did I lost you? Are you still around here? Oh yes. And now, if this Jesus guy was able to do very similar stuff with the water, possible that's his claim that he is the Son of God, like he is one of those very close to this entity that created everything. Probably his claim that he is the Son of God, when compared to the other folks around, he was more like a closer to the creator than the average person. Even we think that we are all part of the same consciousness, we are all part of the same field, the same mind, we are but certain minds, like Jesus, was closer to that entity, to the creator. So he had abilities closer, ability to create and modify the matter, like the Father, like this God. So if we think that this God, it was an entity, like an alien or some sort of a supernatural human-like from another planet or some other dimension, that we don't know how to describe this concept, or we could think that is part of this big cloud of quantum field, we call it consciousness. We are part of it, and we can modify our reality. So I can think that way. So I mentioned that we live in sort of a dream, and with the power of our mind we can modify our reality. But guess what? Not everyone is equal in the terms of the abilities. So some people are living this type of dream, and they have very little training or little abilities, or ability to connect to the source, to the large field of consciousness, and modify the stuff around, modify the future events. So they experience what other people modify for them. So let's say you work for someone else, they modify their dream. So they use your powers, they use other people's powers, they use money, they use assets and items and mathematics and forces to get what they want. So they modify the dream, their life, their dream, their future according to what they need. So they have power over other people who are weaker. Let's say if you look at one of the country presidents, so he did lots of things to modify other people's future in order to make themselves get to the top, to lead other people. So someone had to be weaker in that sense to give away their own power to these politicians. And people do that at the workplace all day, all the times. And it tells you that we are not all equal in a way we modify this dream or this future. And some came from this consciousness with the ability to modify not only their future events, but modify the matter. So most of us, for some reason I think my phone is ringing. No, it's not my phone. We all deal with matter, with thoughts, with energy, but some of us, or actually most of us, we are just spectators. We are spectators, and we handle the material world based on our five senses and based on our abilities to to think and learn and handle the energy or the material, the matter, and we can kind of alter our future in small amounts. Some people are better, some people are planning, some people, like I said, use other people's powers, or maybe they do good like a networking, so use other people help to get what they want. And people who are better at networking and use other people's powers, then they can modify their future better than most people who just like wait around and hope that their lives is going to get better. Now this Jesus was one of those special minds who was not only super wise, but he had access to the field of information. It's like I mentioned that inventors and creative people also have access to the information, and I have access to the information, but not all the time. I'm not really good, but there are people who are not only trained, but they have this ability to kind of tap into future events. Today I went to the park. I came to the park actually, and there was a police officer with a German Shepherd, and I look at the dog, and I told the cop. The cop was a young guy dressed into a military uniform type, like a khaki or a green. Was not a regular police officer uniform, unless they changed the uniforms or something, but he looked like a very like a camouflage type of uniform. And I said to the cop that this is about 5 years old, yes? And he said, yeah, it's about half. So he didn't say that is 5 years. And then a couple of smiles later, he said, yeah, he is exactly 5 years old. How do you know? Do you know German Shepherds? I said, no, I have no idea about dogs. But I talked to him, and he smiled. He smiled, but I didn't say, I know a couple of things. So I did look at the dog, and I sensed. I kind of interrogate the field, like how old this dog must be. Since I don't know German Shepherd, how do I know? So he said, yeah, he's exactly 5. So it's like probably a couple of weeks plus minus. I don't know. But it's not first time. Many times I do that. I interrogate the field, and I ask for the answer. And the answer comes like a kind of a feeling. So there are people who have this ability very strong, and Jesus was one of those. He was able to say how people were thinking, like what they were thinking. And I heard of such people. They are called saints. You talk to one of these. I never had a chance to talk to one of these, but I have a neighbor who went to the United States and talked to one of the Greek Orthodox so-called saints. Was an older guy who had these abilities to heal and stuff, and he was telling her something from the day before, and she said, yeah, this guy was able to tell about diseases and about what people ate before or stuff like that, and there was a guy who used to be a Harvard professor who lately, so he is dead now, but later he changed his name into Ram Dass. If you heard of Ram Dass, one of his lectures was about his experience with one of these saints, one of these monks, who was able to read his field of information, and including what he was thinking the night before. So Ram Dass, before becoming Ram Dass, he had a different name. On the way to see this monk, the night before was thinking of his mom, was looking at the sky, at the stars, you know. He was with a guide on the journey to this remote monastery. There were no roads at the time. And so second day the monk told him, yeah, last night around 10 o'clock you were looking at the sky and thinking of your mom, right? So there are such people, and Jesus was one of them, probably like at a different level of accessing, or of different level of knowledge of accessing the information in the field. But I totally believe that since we are able to modify the taste of the wine with a little device that is charged with energy, and I won't tell you today how these things are charged, but I did an experiment, a few experiments with healings using the Bible. And I talked to a friend who is a Christian, and I said, how you call this process of doing something when the priests and the monks do something to the Bible and items and water? How you call it? He said, yeah, they bless the water, they bless the bread, they bless my car, like one of the monks he knows blessed his car, and they bless the Bibles before they sell you the Bible or they give you the Bible. They bless the Bible. I said, oh yeah, that's why when I do healings or I help people with their discomfort using the Bible, I feel different. My hand feels different. So blessing, it's a process of loading items with specific energies. It's very specific energy done with intent, right? So I totally believe that Jesus had this power of his intent that led to modifying the matter. So I think these stories are true about this guy, and the more I look into it, the more I experiment, the more it makes me think, man, this guy is worth reading about. This guy is worth following. It is like I don't know, maybe he's still around in the other realm, but when I did pray at some point and I used Jesus' name, like I think he's something, maybe he's part of the computer we are all in, who knows, but it's something special about it and about him, and like I said, it changed my ways of thinking, make me think, okay, these stories in the Bibles are not a total pile of stuff. So talk to you later. Bye bye.